This is Michael Popok, and you're on the new Legal AF YouTube channel. Take a minute. Early voting has started. Hit the subscribe button and help us get to 300,000 before Halloween. And then you'll get content like my exclusive interview with Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, who was a longtime insider of Donald Trump, his consigliere, his fixer, knew him for over 15 years. Nobody's in a better position to make those observations and criticisms of Donald Trump than Michael Cohen, who went to jail because of it and is now out, of course, as a podcaster on the Midas Touch Network. We talk about his replacement, effectively, or was he? A guy named Boris Epstein. Who is this shadowy figure, Boris Epstein? And why has he been involved with trying to pick lawyers and judges like Judge Aileen Cannon to fill out a future cabinet for Donald Trump if, God forbid, we let that happen? What does it all mean? Was the recent leak of the transition memo, was that intentional? Only Michael Cohen knows. And take a listen. What I like to do, Michael, is transition talking about a major enabler. We know that in Trump 2.0, or as I joked, it's like Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. T2 is going to be a lot worse than T1. And in T2, right, he's not going to have people with any shred of conscience around them, like Pat Cipollone or Eric Hirschman or others that tried to keep him away from his worst instincts. Now it's just going to be just complete toadies and lackeys and bootlickers that are going to enable him. God forbid Boris Epstein gets anywhere near the White House, but he's already played a major role. I'm going to set it up, then I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about Boris and what this new secret leak is from the presidential transition team. I want to get your opinion about whether you think it was a leak or not, or who leaked it. And then where they've laid out who their attorney general choice is going to be. Aileen Cannon tops the list, the current person who's presiding or had been presiding over his criminal case at Mar-a-Lago. One of his current criminal lawyers, Todd Blanche, for either FBI or Deputy Attorney General under the judge he was just appearing in front of. Stan Woodward, the co-defendant being paid by the Trump PAC to represent Walt Nauta, the butler, valet guy, and Carlos de Oliveira. This is the world, and all vetted apparently through Boris Epstein, who also he's that sweaty guy in the three-piece suit that's at every arraignment. He's the one that handpicked all the lawyers and put this virtual law firm together of the last remaining lawyers on earth that want to represent Donald Trump. All Boris. Tell us about Boris, because you know him really well. And then what do you think about this new memo, whether it was really leaked or strategically leaked by the Trump administration? And what do you think they were trying to accomplish by putting all these names on this hierarchy?
Yeah. So let me just give you the quick, the 2-seconder on Boris Epstein. When I was there, I never worked for the campaign. Boris was part of the campaign. He was an incredibly low-level guy, and all he wanted to do was have FaceTime with Donald. He'd come to my office all the time. We used to call him the lapdog because anytime that anybody was going to be going into Trump's office, can I come? Can I come? Can I just stand there? Can I be there? Donald's presence was something that he desired tremendously. He will never be Michael Cohen. He doesn't have the ability. There's different levels, right? What I did for Donald, Boris is incapable. Boris is actually, while he's an attorney, Boris has never practiced law in his life. So it's incredible to me, and it should show each and every one of you just how pathetic the team of people that are around Trump actually are. The guy, again, he's a lawyer, but he's never practiced. So what is his knowledge? What is it all predicated upon? And the answer is nothing. Now, to go in to talk about this document that got leaked, I mean, Boris is right now living his best light. He's living his best light simply because he's now in front of Donald, even though he doesn't do anything. He wasn't there defending Donald at the criminal trial or at the civil trial. That's not what he does. He's there carrying boxes. It's actually very funny. He's become a more glorified lapdog. I believe that they leaked out the information. I don't believe that it was somehow, it miraculously showed up somewhere. I believe that they did. And I think it, again, is designed to galvanize the base. The people who think that Judge Aileen Cannon has gone above and beyond in order to protect him from what Trump keeps declaring is an improper litigation, a witch hunt. so to speak, against him, and that she is standing up for him. She will be a disaster. As bad, by the way, as Bill Barr was. And Bill Barr is and should be actually prosecuted for his failure and for his actions, including the actions against me. To have people like Todd Blanche, who I refer to as the Sloat, which is the stupidest lawyer of all time. He is the stupidest lawyer of all time. The guy had a year within which to design questions to come at me at the criminal trial.
All right.
Remember,
He cross-examined you at trial. That's right.
he did. He cross-examined me. The first question out of the gate was, "Have we ever met?" I said, "No, sir." He says, "Well, did you not turn around and call me like a shit stick?" I said, "Sounds like something I would
On the
say."
Midas Touch
Well,
Network?
yeah, probably. And at which point in time, of course, Susan Hoffinger, who represented the people, stated her objection. It was sustained. They were all called up to sidebar, and basically the judge reprimanded the Sloat, Todd Blanche, and said to him, "This isn't about you. All right? Don't make this about you."
I want to make this clear because sometimes you and I have a habit, which is a good thing. As friends, we talk in shorthand. This was the start of your cross-examination in the 34, what ultimately became the 34-count felony conviction of Donald Trump, presided over by Judge Merchan, in which you were one of the lead witnesses to talk about what the prosecution referred to as the Trump Tower conspiracy, the catch and kill program. There's only 3 people that knew about this, every detail of it, right? David Pecker.
Me, Trump, and David Pecker.
You, Trump, and David Pecker, who, like a novelist, couldn't come up with a better name for a guy that was running the National Enquirer than, in this case, than David Pecker. And so the 3 of you, and 2 out of the 3, you and David Pecker, testified against Donald Trump about the terms of the conspiracy, criminal conspiracy. And then, of course, you had under much duress, personal duress, and under much personal courage. You didn't have to take the stand. I mean, you did, but
No, I
but
didn't.
and well,
No,
right.
no,
I mean, yeah, they could have decided not to use you, I guess.
I mean, I was subpoenaed, but
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
what would I would have gotten?
So
100 days?
yeah, right. Yeah, right. So Todd Blanche stands up there, and the first thing he does is start talking about some of your amazing sobriquets, things that you've said about him in social media. Like, the jury must have been like, what the actual F is happening
Well,
here?
imagine, I want your listeners and your viewers to put themselves in the position of being one of the 12 jurors. And the Sloat comes out and he starts attacking me. Did you call me like a stupid shit stick or something like that? And with a smirk, I said, "Sounds like something I would say," right?
Right, right.
The giggles that were going on by the jury box, right?
Right.
I mean, they were giggling, and then he played one of my raw and unfiltered comments on my Mea Culpa podcast.
Which, by the way, in New York, as a fellow New Yorker, that and other New Yorkers in the box, that endeared you to them. They liked you more, not less, after that. That's what happens when you take. We'll just do the inside baseball thing. That's what happens when you take a federal white shoe lawyer who's been a prosecutor his whole life, that's never been rolled up his shirt sleeves in the rough and tumble of New York State Supreme Court with a real jury. That's a rookie mistake that actually benefited you.
Well, Mike, that this is only the second criminal trial that he has ever presided over. So hold on. You got to say to yourself, okay, Donald, listen, I know that we don't talk anymore, and certainly I'm not here to protect you, but what the hell are you thinking that you have a guy that has basically done one trial as a criminal defense attorney in his entire life, and you're going to put him on? He had a year, almost about a year, in order to prepare questions and to perfect the questions. Did he? No. It's almost like he went to some pattern jury deposition checklist.
No, Chat GPT.
Or ChatGPT said, what are 250 great questions that I should be asking Michael Cohen on the stand in a criminal case, right? Be specific and elucidate, specific topics. And I mean, seriously, you Sloat, You stupidest lawyer of all time. He should be charged. By the way, he if I was repping Donald, I would actually bring a malpractice action against him. I would.
Except this is another example of Donald Trump's weird, disgusting misogyny because he had a seasoned trial lawyer that knew what she was doing on his team in Susan Necklace. But he decided since Susan lost because she had no defense, the 17 count, the 19 count tax evasion case 2 years earlier, that she was going to side. But the only one in that courtroom, besides Susan Hoffinger and those for the Manhattan DA's office that knew what they were doing in that courtroom in front of a jury was Susan Necklace. She should have cross-examined you. I don't think it would have come out any better because you certainly know how to hold your own in front of that jury. But that's because he's a unless you look like Alina Habba, you know, or his daughter, he doesn't really want any other woman succeeding around him.
Yeah, it's look. I don't know why he didn't, and you're right. It wouldn't have made a difference. Don't forget, I've done my fair share of trial work throughout my course of my earlier career. I certainly know how to hold my own on the stand. The facts are the facts. You can't get past them. And that's why it makes no difference. But he was so bad. And he's such a meanderer in terms of the questioning. It went from 2015, 2016, 2021, 2020, 2024, 2020, 19. I mean, it was all over the place. For me, it was at first I was thinking to myself, this might be part of a plan within which to confuse me because trying to keep dates when you're bouncing over an 8-year period is not easy. So it was mentally exhausting for me. But like I said, his questions were they were so novice like. Again, if I was Trump, I'd be bringing a malpractice action against him.
Let me just round it out this way on this particular segment here. On the other miscalculation, when you said earlier, "What are you thinking?" What are you thinking? He only has one judge in all of the criminal world in his back pocket who's bent over backwards to help him. That's Aileen Cannon. And now he just not only shot himself in the foot, he shot himself in the head, no pun intended from his recent problems, because Aileen Cannon is likely to be removed and reassigned because the appearance of impropriety is so great. The odor of ethical issues is so great that I think the 11th Circuit's going to have no choice but to take her off the case after they send it back to a trial judge.
And he doesn't care there, Mike. Again, let's talk about the odor, and it's not the one that's coming from his diapers. The odor of Eileen Cannon and her inappropriate actions in terms of protecting the defendant in the case. If she becomes attorney general, you think she cares about her federal position there? The answer is no. Will she continue to act in a manner consistent with the manner that she's acting now? The answer is yes. Does she care that there is an odor? MAGA doesn't smell the odor. According to Donald, he's quite frankly, he's the best smelling president ever in the history of America. And that's the problem here. They don't see reality.
No, but
So the question
my
is, are
point is a
there
little
enough of
different.
us? What's
Yeah,
that?
my point is a little different. If he miscalculates and he doesn't win, and we don't
Mhm.
think he will, and the case is reinstated by the 11th, which it will be,
It
and
will.
right, they're not going to send it back to Cannon, which means now he's got a judge in a criminal case, a real criminal case, one that I always thought was the easier one to prove, given the obstruction, the video, the
Mhm.
his fingerprints on everything, video evidence of everything. And now it's gonna be sent back to a judge in the Southern District, not named not named Judge Cannon, but they didn't care because, as you said, they wanted to activate the red meat base in time for the election. I just think it's a tremendous miscalculation, but it's one that we'll
Well,
benefit
yes,
from.
yes, and no. The answer, yes, it's a miscalculation, but not as bad as what people may believe simply because you can't remove her. She's a federal court judge. Her appointment is for life.
No, you can reassign the case away from her.
I understand
Yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
doesn't care about
Oh no,
that
no.
because she did her job. She protected the king. And whether he wins or he loses, she's not losing her job. She's not losing her pension. She's not losing anything. All she has is upside here that if he does win, she becomes one of two things: Attorney General or a Supreme Court nominee.
I said 6 months ago on a hot take that I saw one of three things happening for Aileen Cannon. If Trump loses, I think she's one of, and there's a number of examples of this, especially in the Southern District of Florida. When you and I started our law careers, you got that plum job of being a federal judge for life. You never left it. But there's a number of circumstances, especially in Florida, precedents where they leave after 5 or 6 years, especially when they're as young as Aileen Cannon, and they go back into private practice and then have $1 million paydays in big law firms. She'll go into MAGA law firms representing right MAGA right wings. That's scenario one. I think there's a good chance she would leave the bench even if Donald Trump lost. If Donald Trump wins, you've got either the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, or the United States Supreme Court, or both. Attorney General, then an opening, he puts her on the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
Right?
look, it's again, we're just hypothesizing now. What happens? Me personally, I don't think she leaves. Let me leave it at that. Does she end up going somewhere down the road in order to represent, as you said, these MAGA extremists? It's possible. She's not the most competent of counsel. So I'm not so certain that with all the various lawyers that are out there who are competent and qualified, I'm pretty sure even if you were a well-to-do MAGA right-winger like an Elon Musk, you're not going with Aileen Cannon as your defense counsel. I don't care what position she had before. Once these folks leave the office, whether it's the prosecutors or whether it's a judge, a lot of these big firms, they like to have it on their letterhead because they think it's prestigious, but that's only because they're competent in terms of what they did. She has demonstrated not only the fact that she's incompetent, but also that she's corrupt.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.